Have you ever heard of the expression guns for show, knives for pro?
Guns for show, knives for a pro.
Well, if you haven't, you need to go and watch Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Chop chop. Actually, don't go anywhere, watch this video first. But that saying is true because anybody can point to shoot a gun, but it takes a real professional to wield a knife. And that's what the Sony Xperia Pro is in the world of smartphones. It's a metaphorical knife, a Swiss Army knife to be more precise. And Sony have created the Xperia Pro specifically for creatives, live streamers, photographers, and videography professionals. So naturally, one of the use cases for this is as a field monitor. And I know some people out there will say, well, I could just plug my phone into a camera using a HDMI to USB-C dongle. But check this out, the Xperia Pro is the world's first ever phone to have a HDMI port. And this HDMI port supports 4K HDR, BT 2020 color space, 60 frames per second. Now, can your HDMI to USB-C dongle do that? And as well as that, if you are going to use your USB-C port in order to display your camera, that means you won't be able to charge your phone whilst using your camera, and that could be a big problem for you. The Xperia Pro has a dedicated USB-C port as well as the HDMI port, which means you can film and charge at the same time. So I do think there's been quite a big misunderstanding about what the Xperia Pro is really for. I've heard people say, why would I get the Xperia Pro instead of, let's say, an Atomos Ninja that has a load of built-on features like false color and focus peaking? What those people don't realize is Sony haven't designed the Xperia Pro to replace the user interface on their cameras. Those kind of features are embedded in alpha cameras already, so why do it twice? The Xperia Pro has been designed more as a companion for your Sony alpha camera. And the real benefit of using this with a Sony alpha camera is the fact that that screen is an incredibly pixel dense OLED. It's got Sony's creator mode running on it, which means it closely matches Sony's cinema grade TriMaster displays. And those are professional monitors used in Hollywood movie films like James Bond, for example. And did I ever tell you that story about the time James Bond killed me in a movie? Well, if you subscribe, turn on your notifications, I'll probably tell it to you one day.
He's not here.
Anyway, what I'm getting at here is when it comes to color accuracy, the Xperia Pro is actually going to be better than a lot of those field monitors out there. And check this out, see this? This is an analog headphone jack, and this port can act as a mic input for your camera. So if you plug a microphone into this, the audio will actually feed through the Xperia and to the recording on your camera. And that's a pretty awesome feature right there. And you know what else makes this unique? It fits in your pocket. It's got a good sized battery built in. You can take and make calls on it. It's got 4 of its own cameras that can also shoot 4K and has incredible eye auto tracking. You can also listen to music on it. You can watch 4K HDR movies on it. It is a Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, but it's got more RAM, it's got bigger storage, and it's got a massive vapor cooling chamber built in, because when this phone is transferring loads of data on the fly, it could warm up. And that's why Sony have thrown in a bit of extra software called Endurance Mode, which will allow it to handle the heat better. And that vapor chamber I mentioned is bigger than a lot of gaming smartphones out there, so it will stay cool under pressure. So at this point, I think it's obvious, this isn't just a field monitor. The field monitor functionality is just one of the tools on this Swiss Army knife. There's so much more you need to know about the Xperia Pro. And before we get off the subject of the monitor functionality, I should address the screen real estate situation. Either side of the monitor output is what appears to be wasted space due to the 21:9 aspect ratio. And people who think this is wasted are actually mistaken, because here's what you can do. You can actually tap to zoom up to 4 times on the display, and this could really help you set up a shot. But more importantly, Sony have thrown in a bit of extra software called the Network Analyzer tool, and this will allow you to see the upload and download speeds in any specific area that you're in. And this can be pinned to that wasted space at the side if you want to call it that. And using this, you'll be able to find out where you can quickly stream your content from on the fastest networks. And this tool really highlights one of the key selling points of this particular device. The Sony Xperia Pro is one of the only phones out there that has 5G millimeter wave support as well as sub-6. And it supports dual 5G SIMs, which means you can switch between 2 different 5G networks if you want to. There are 4 antennas built into the polycarbonate casing, which means no matter which way your phone's orientated, you're still going to get the fastest signal. And you might be thinking, what the hell is millimeter wave? Well, that is the fastest form of 5G in the world right now, and the plan in the future is to have 5G millimeter wave signals in train stations, airports, sporting venues, concert halls, and stuff like this. And it wouldn't be a surprise to see movie studios starting to fit millimeter wave masts in their studios. Because what this means is if you tether an Xperia Pro to, let's say, a Sony Alpha S3 or professional grade camera, you'll be able to stream hundreds of gigabytes of data over the airways back to base at incredible speeds thanks to 5G. And trust me, that is a big deal. Do you know how much time I waste taking the SD card out of this camera, putting it into this computer and waiting for the data to transfer? It's a lot. Now think about this. While I'm recording right now, this camera could be streaming the footage straight to this computer. So as soon as I hit stop on this camera, I can start editing with no time in between. If only Sony would let me keep this device, but something tells me they won't, because it is pretty expensive. But I do think it's going to be worth it for some of you digital imaging professionals out there. And think about this use case. Imagine you're a paparazzi and you're out and about shooting photos, and it's really crucial for you to get your photo back first so you can send it to the newspapers and the magazines and stuff like this. If you have the Sony Xperia Pro hooked up to a FTP server, which is a feature you can do here, you can instantaneously send all of your photos and videos immediately to that FTP server running on a computer somewhere, where it can be shared incredibly quick with all of those magazines and newspapers and stuff. That could be a game changer for that profession. And I think you guys can come up with plenty of other use cases where this could really change the game. So here's a question for those non-believers out there who say, why should I buy this instead of a monitor? Well, can your monitor do that? And I do realize some people will say, well, what's the point of this if there isn't any 5G millimeter wave or 5G sub-6 where I'm going to be shooting or setting up a video? Well, that doesn't render the purpose of the device useless, because what you can do is still film and take photos like you were going to, and as soon as you leave that location and hit a Wi-Fi hotspot or anywhere where there's data, you can immediately start the upload. And that's still going to be quicker than heading all the way back to base, taking your memory cards out, plugging them in and uploading that way. And as you know, time is very precious. Nobody can give you your time back. And some people say time is money, and it's wise to save as much of it as possible. And that is what the Xperia Pro will do for you. It's designed to streamline your workflow. Now, let's be honest about this. Not all of us are going to be digital imaging professionals and videographers or photographers, but I tell you what, a lot of people are. Vloggers and game streamers, and there is some awesome stuff you can do here if you are one of those. Because it's an Android phone, you can of course download apps, and if you download the YouTube app or the Twitch app or the Streamlabs app, you can instantaneously live stream from a full frame camera with a high quality lens straight to the internet. Can a field monitor do that? I don't think so. And it's so easy to do. Literally just download the app. The app will recognize the camera as your main camera, and you can stream straight away. And that skill right there is something very special. So to sum this up, the field monitor that I have right in front of me right now is designed to do one thing. But what Sony have done here with the Xperia Pro is they've created a new category when it comes to digital imaging. The Xperia Pro is a Swiss Army knife for digital imaging professionals. And like I said at the beginning, it's guns for show, knives for pro.
Guns for show, knives for a pro.
So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you did, I would really appreciate a thumbs up, and a subscribe to the channel would be legendary. And I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't be late.